Welcome to Hell Mortal. I have used the infinite power of RNG, and you have been chosen to discover the power of the best class in the game. Okay guys, listen up. This guide will not follow the normal protocol of normal class guides or even class guides that I make. This class is very different from all others, and requires full brain power to be used properly. As I said before, this is the best class in the game, and in this guide I will show you why, and how to achieve its full potential. So bear with me, and enjoy this very confusing trip. To get ShadowWalker of Time, you have to go to HeroMart.com and purchase 2017 calendar. You can also go to Battle On and buy ShadowStalker of Time for 6000 AC. There is no difference between these two other than the art, and the one on the right looks like a failed Chinese ripoff. Also, by buying the calendar you get both versions of the class as well as items in other AE games. Also, getting the original class will give you more bragging rights. This is a hybrid class, so use luck, and most importantly use Mana Vamp. Without Mana Vamp you will be pretty much useless. Okay, so because this is still a class guide, I'm supposed to first give a breakdown on the abilities. Basically all abilities, except the last one, do damage and apply an effect, and once you use last ability, the other 4 will apply a different effect. While last ability is active, that other effect will replace the normal one, except for the auto attack, which for some reason will stack both effects once last ability is active. Also, they all have 2 names, because they are technically 2 abilities built in one. But it gets very annoying to name them that way, and naming them by the numbers is just retarded, so I will give them my own names which will be universally used. Your auto attack will be just called auto attack, because I'm very original. It does 70% damage, and has 1.5 second cooldown. Also, it increases your hit chance, and reduces enemies' hit chance by 3%, which stacks 5 times. Also, it applies Chaos Rift, which is the effect I will explain later, because it is the effect that causes whole madness around this class. This ability will be called Raise. It does moderate damage to 2 targets. Bruh. It does moderate damage to 2 targets, and applies a low damage over time. This skill will be called Clock. It does low damage to 1 target and increases damage that target takes by 20% for 10 seconds. This ability will be called Shadows. It hits 3 people 4 bit less damage than Raise, and gives you 300% dodge for 4 seconds. Also, it forces enemy to attack you for same duration. Also it costs no mana, and applies a 2-second damage over time to you. This will be called Eclipse. This is your ultimate ability. It hits 3 people for no damage, but it cannot miss. It applies a debuff which reduces their hit chance by 30% and removes their crits. Also, it increases your hit chance and dodge chance by 80%, gives you maximum haste, and increases damage taken by 20%. And no, you do not need Chaos Rift for double haste buff. All this bullshit lasts 5 seconds. But most importantly, while Eclipse is active, all your other abilities will have different effects. Your auto attack will now also increase your dodge chance, and reduce enemies' dodge by 3%, which stacks 5 times as well. Raise will now apply a heal over time instead of damage over time. Clock will now deal damage, based on the damage you have done in past 10 seconds and your Chaos Rift stacks. Shadows will no longer focus enemy on you, and give you 30 mana instead. Okay, so now that you know how this class works, it is time to tell you how to use it. After suffering for nearly 2 hours and creating some of the most complex equations, I have finally managed to create the perfect combo for this class. That combo contains 3 combos within it. I will do my best to explain how to do them and why they even work. After you have learned and mastered them, you will be able to kill bosses faster than anything else. Okay, so first let's start with the Chaos Rift effect. Basically it works exactly the same as other Rift effects from other Chrono classes, except this one uses different number. I cannot tell exact differences between this Chaos Rift and, for example, Temporal Rift from Chrono Dragon Knight, because our clan refuses to reply to such important questions. But from what I do know, Chaos Rift has different amount of stacks and % damage taken. That means that if Temporal Rift will multiply your nuke damage by 1.5 times if you have 4 stacks, but Chaos Rift from ShadowWalker will multiply it by lesser amount. That is the reason why sometimes you see such a big drop in your nuke. It happens because you do not get enough stacks of Chaos Rift before you use your second nuke, which results in lesser % damage taken from other nuke. That means if for example your first nuke hits 10,000 damage and you get for example 3 stacks of Chaos Rift before using the nuke again, those 3 stacks will only take for example 60% of the damage you have dealt, resulting in lesser damage. Once again, I do not know the exact numbers, but that is sorta how this mess works. When I was creating my combos, I tried to make sure you can get as much Chaos Rift stacks as possible before using your next nuke and before you hit past 10-second mark with your damage stacking. Okay, so the first thing you will learn is the starting combo. You gonna use this combo to start the fight.
No fucking way.
Basically, first mistake that everyone makes is immediately using your nuke by pressing 5 and 3. Doing that proves that you have one chromosome too much, because the nuke is based on the damage you have dealt in past 10 seconds and Chaos Rift stacks. Using the nuke right away will mean you haven't dealt any damage and only got like 1 or 2 Chaos Rift stacks.
Bruh, look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No, 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 no.
Alright, it is time for your nightmares to become reality. The starting combo is shown on the screen, and this one is for those who cannot read letters.
Really, nigga?
Okay, fine, I will try to explain it a bit more in depth. Basically, you start with clock, then shadows and rays to get some damage for your nuke. Then you use clock again because why not? Then you gonna use eclipse and immediately press rays again. Do it as fast as possible, otherwise you gonna have some problems. After you use rays, you gonna use shadows. Then you have to wait for rays to go off cooldown and use it immediately. Then you use clock right after. Your nuke should be between 10 and 15,000 and maybe even 20,000 on rare occasions. If it did not work, that means you haven't pressed buttons fast enough. So go play some piano, then return here when you can play every symphony of Beethoven at 200% speed. Also, one thing that you need to remember is that you have to land an auto attack after you use your nuke and before eclipse ends. If you use your nuke and eclipse ends right after, you won't be able to land an auto attack before the damage over time ticks, and that will mean you won't apply Chaos Rift, and that will mean that the damage will not be recorded. Just keep that in mind because it will be important later on. Alright, now it's time for the single nuke combo. It is called single nuke because you will use your nuke a single time here.
No fucking way.
This one is actually quite simple. You use eclipse, rays, shadows and clock. Just note that even though you can use clock second time before eclipse ends, you must not do that. Just don't. It will be better for your own sake. Next will be called double nuke combo, and no, I'm not gonna explain why.
Fuck you, you just got pranked.
This one is a lot harder and you will fail here more time than you have failed at school in your entire career. You gonna use eclipse, clock, shadows, rays, then clock again. The hardest part here is landing the second clock. It has to happen at the exact nanosecond, which is right before your final auto attack before eclipse wears off. Also, you have to consider that AQW doesn't have instant command response, so you have to time your button press a bit earlier. For simplicity, you can use your cooldown meter. Basically, press clock somewhere at this moment when the cooldown is about to go past the number. If you do it too early, you will lose a lot of damage. If you do it too late, you will lose your stack damage entirely. So have fun with that. Okay, so now that you know all the combos, it is time to learn how to use them. As I said before, you will start your fight with the starting combo, then you will do the single nuke, and then do the double. After you have done the double nuke, you go back to single nuke, and then go back to double. Basically, you keep cycling between these two until your target dies. Oh, and one more thing. If you have enough mana, you can use clock between combos to get some extra damage. To put it simple, if you are about to use single nuke combo and your mana is above 60, you can use clock for extra damage. If you are about to do the double nuke, your mana has to be above 90. By this time you probably already made up a philosophical question. Why do I have to do so much bullshit, and what's the point of it? Well, the reason why you have to do so much bullshit is because you have to get as much damage between nukes as possible and not go past 10 seconds damage calculation mark. In other words, if you would have been spamming your nukes on every possible opportunity, you would have 1. Ran out of mana, and 2. Wouldn't come even close to getting as much damage as you can with this method. And if you decide to wait as long as possible between nukes, you will eventually lose your stack damage because Eclipse won't reload fast enough. Trust me, I already tried that and it just did not work. If you want to master Shadow ShadowWalker, you have to use it the way I said, otherwise you will remain useless for the rest of your AQW career. But your effort won't be wasted. By doing this, you will achieve highest solo damage per second. And just to prove that I'm not bullshitting with you here, I will show you a comparison between ShadowWalker and Meme Lord. Usually I don't make guide on PvP, however this time it seems that an average AQW abomination hasn't evolved into a being that can do even easiest stuff. Basically I have noticed that every ShadowWalker user starts with Eclipse then dies pretty much right after. So I'm here to tell you, if you are using Eclipse right away, that means you are a sweaty try-harding school-loving friendless killing Yolga RFKing shit-licking Game of Thrones spoiling baby punching AE supporting Call of Duty Infinite Warfare playing Undertale hating Hanzo maining drunk driving piece of shit. Except for the times when you go against dodge classes, in which case getting 80% hit chance is indeed necessary. For those of you dumbasses who do not understand what to do instead, I suggest you to continue grinding for your void shit lord. Alright, I guess that's all I wanted to tell. I hope that you people will now understand what is the real best class in AQW, and stop asking me on how to use it. So to end this video, I guess I will just put a random clip of me beating the Void High Lord to death.
But my hope